More talk, more fun, more laughs. The Lori Moore Show is underwritten by the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. Love where you live. It's time for the Lori Moore Show. Here is your host, Lori Moore.
And as Channel 3 celebrates 65 years, we on the Lori Moore Show have been taking a trip down memory lane with some of those people that we grew up with, and we have one of those for you today. But first, we want to tell you about the passing of a broadcast legend in Kalamazoo, longtime president of Fetzer Broadcasting, founding member, and past president of the Michigan Association of Broadcasters and broadcast engineering pioneer, Carl E. Lee has passed away at the age of 96. A public memorial is set for 10:30 in the morning on Saturday, March 14th at Lee Honors College at Western Michigan University. Donations can be made to the Carl E. Lee Broadcasting Scholarship Fund, care of the Michigan Association of Broadcasters Foundation, 819 Washington Avenue, Lansing, Michigan, 48906. Joining us today on the show, I loved this show, Green Valley Jamboree. Joining us, local musicians Bob Rowe and Rendal Wall. Gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, queen of television.
I loved watching this show, and I think it's what made me love country music the way I do, too.
That's right.
Rendal, you are the son of Rem Wall.
That's right, the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah. Have a youngest son, my brother, Rodney, and a sister, Becky, and she's in Tennessee.
Tell us about your dad. Where was he from? How did he end up in
Southern part of
Kalamazoo?
Illinois, Benton, West Frankfort, Illinois. He grew up as a coal miner back when he was able to work and everything. And one day they had an accident. Luckily, he was on the top side, and he said, "That's it. I'm going to follow my dream." So he had an eye on my mother back then.
Wow.
She was a registered nurse. And she was had a lot of activity up at the state hospital. She pretty much controlled the whole second floor, and so he followed her up and got a job at Florsheim Shoes.
Oh, we remember that, sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then he got a job back at Gibson back in the old days, and worked there for close to 35 years.
And so did you.
Yeah, well, I worked there 22 years. And then I worked at Heritage for 30 years.
How did your dad start the band, and when did you join?
Well, some of the pictures I brought you, there's one picture in there of Mal Brumfield and the Kentucky Hillbillies.
That's Ma, like
Yeah, Mal Brumfield and the Kentucky Hillbillies. And he was a part of that band, and I think he just probably said, well, I want to start something of my own, you know. So we started way back in Kalamazoo, and it was WGFG down by the State Theater, back upstairs on the second floor. And then eventually went to Gordon Anderson, which was a part of WKZO at that time, and said, let's get something started. And so they talked about it, and we started doing the show, you know, back in the 50s.
When was it on, Bob? What night did it air, or day?
Saturday afternoon at 5:30,
Yeah.
And then for some people Sunday, right, Rendal?
Yeah, and I always like to say when we're at nursing homes, with Bob and I for the last 27 years, I say, how many people have been watching our TV show? And they say, everybody raised their hand on Saturday, you know?
Yeah.
I said, how about Sunday? And I said, no, we weren't on Sunday, but we appreciate your
surprised
support.
to see how many hands go up on the Sunday.
But I love that show, and big stars came through town, Bob. Tell us about some of the people that appeared on there.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, well.
Everybody. Well, go ahead, Rendal.
Yeah, well, there was a list a mile long, all the way back to some of the famous steel players of today. Mel Tillis, Dottie West, and Tex Ritter, Little Jimmy Dickens. I mean, some of those, you know, names. Every time they would come through town, they'd always call my dad out and say, "What you doing? Let's go break bread," so to speak, as they used to say in the old days.
Nice.
And then we'd go out and talk a little bit, and then anytime they would be passing through it, playing at Wings or one of the other venues, and then they would call, and we'd all go out, and then every time I'd go to Nashville, then I'd had a chance to visit them. So it was a lot of fun.
And I was on.
Yeah.
Yes, you were. When did you join the fund?
Well, sometime back in the
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually made my television debut on the Green Valley Jamboree, and I need to say something, too, about your dad. You know, I approached many different TV personalities back then and since then, and Rem Wall was one of the most decent human beings I've ever known in my whole life. I mean, besides being a consummate musician and a great country music singer, he was a good man. And he was from the era of country music where you didn't let your competition gene that everybody kind of has in the arts overrule your decency. He would help anybody and everybody, even if you really weren't that great of a singer or maybe not that polished up yet. He'd let you on and, you know, give you a chance, and he was wonderful. And I'll never forget when he introduced me. He said, "Here's a long, tall boy from Battle Creek, Michigan, Bob Rowe, going to sing my favorite song, The Green, Green Grass of Home." It's a memory I'll never forget.
Oh, that is so awesome.
He was so good to me, and I was scared, and he made me feel real at ease, and so did Rendal and the rest of the group. Just great people.
It was just such a part of my upbringing, you know. It just is such a great memory.
Yeah.
Country Music Hall of Fame, is that?
Yeah, Country Music Hall of Fame for the state of Michigan. We're the only band to go into that as a band. They don't normally take bands, but because of our links together and everything, we've lost a few of our members, Jim Bradford and Howie Quibell and Billy Van. Some of those good old members are gone now, but Hubie Fryer is still with us, and myself, a part of the original, and then Don Bradford is a brother of our fiddle player, Jim Bradford. And he passed away about 3 years ago, tomorrow, in fact.
Rendal, you were saying, you know, looking around the studio, things look a little different now than when you guys were here.
Now I'm looking at cameras that have no one behind them.
Right.
They're robots.
And they were 3 times as big. And I remember our first TV shows were with a round TV screen.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad always kidded, and a lot of people kidded us because we invented the TV dinner. It goes back that far.
Oh, yeah. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
That's it. They'd come out of the field in the farmer's wood, and they'd gather around the table or that particular time of night, you know, and watch the show. So we had 4.5 million available listeners for close to 37 years. I mean, it's debatable 35, 37. I hear both figures, but I always thought it was 37. And 40 on the radio. Pardon?
Yeah, well, the last 5 years of his dad's life, he came back to Michigan and worked with our Renaissance Enterprises and went around all the senior care facilities. And I'm telling you, it was like George Burns walking in there.
Right, a legend.
Everybody saw Rem Wall, and then Rendal's and Don have been working with me ever since then. And that's really been a cool thing for all of us.
Guys, thank you so much for sharing these great memories.
Our pleasure.
My guys, the Green Valley Jamboree, I love that show on Channel 3. We're celebrating 65 years this year. We have a little party coming up this summer that we'll be telling you about as things develop. Our pick of the day today, the 19th Annual Garage Sale Art Fair. It's happening at the Kalamazoo County Expo Center, 2900 Lake Street in Kalamazoo from 9:30 to 4 tomorrow, February 28th. Admission, $5. Have you been reading your assignment? Karen Trout with Reading Together in the Kalamazoo Public Library next on The Lori Moore Show on your CW7.
You're watching The Lori Moore Show.